Hi, my name is Ben. I am 23 years old. My hometown is Vancouver, BC. As you can see, I have a disability. Even though I may not be a great theologian like Stephen Hawking was, please see my disability similar to his. I was diagnosed with cerebral palsy, which is a disorder that limits my muscle control. I cannot walk and verbally speak on my own. That is why I am in a wheelchair, and use the communication device that is in front of me. But I will assure you that my disability doesn't alter my intellect. I have a life that is unknown to most people. God uses my life to be a blessing to others. I can cope with my disabled life by talking about it too. So I have prepared the following. I hope you will enjoy this. Nobody expected this. My birth was traumatic. According to the doctors, I was going to be a healthy child, but I was born dead. I came out of the womb like a brick. My skin was the color of cement. My lips were bluer than my eyes. I was not moving or making sounds. My dead body affected throughout the hospital room. The nurses lost their confidence, and the doctors were bewildered. My family members were frightened. They all didn't know what to do with my crippled body. They didn't know how to help me. They were paralyzed and clueless because they didn't predict that I would be dead. But their adrenaline kicked in, and they all resurrected me both through action and prayer. But beside bringing me back alive, I was dead too long that some of my brain cells couldn't survive. I was diagnosed with a permanent disorder called cerebral palsy. This means that I will spend my life with the difficult truth. I will always be deprived from having a fully functional body. Now, I have been living a reality that is unknown to most people. I have never experienced walking on my own feet. I have never experienced speaking with my own voice. I have never known what is it like having the complete control over my body. Let me assure you, I am still as human as you can be. I still have the same desires as you do, but I can't fulfill most of my desires because I am too crippled. I will help you understand what I am saying. I want you to imagine your favorite desserts. Imagine that satisfying taste when you are having chocolate cake. Imagine that feeling when you are having a mouthful of chips. You may not realize this until now. You get to have a reality from which I am completely cut off. I can't eat by my mouth. I don't have enough muscle control to make sure that I don't choke on my food or worse. My disability leaves me with no other options. I have to eat through a machine which goes directly into my stomach. This means that I go through frustrations when I sense delicious food. My mouth only thirsts, and nothing can satisfy it. I envy you. I find you very fortunate. You may have never lost your ability to eat through your mouth. You may take it for granted to have the satisfying feeling within a mouthful of chocolate cake or of chips. You also may take other things for granted, but I live a different life than you. I want you to consider how different our lives may be. You may have full independence, but I am shackled within my wheelchair. Think about our social lives. You may be playing volleyball on the beach or dancing in the clubs, but I couldn't join, except by strolling through your photos on social media, just because it wouldn't be wheelchair accessible. Nothing is more frustrating than this. Now, Think about our dating lives. You may be on the path of getting married, but as you may be experiencing the happiest times of your life, I would feel betrayed because most people don't want a partner with a crippled body like mine. You also may be advancing within your career. You may be traveling around the world and building businesses, but I would feel falling behind because being independent requires help from my caregivers. Most of them wouldn't be able to travel around the world with me, since they can't leave their family at home. Your independence may feel so freely given. You can do anything spontaneously, but it is the exact opposite for me. I have to face and fight against many barriers to preserve my independence. While you may take your independence for granted, mine always comes with a struggle. These are the differences between us. My reality can feel detached from the outside world. I can feel like I am in a jail cell. I relate to Gene. Dominic Borby. Mr. Borby lived a difficult life. He had a stroke and was diagnosed with a disorder called lock-in syndrome. This meant that he lost things that were dear to him. He had to leave his journalism career. He had to break up with his fiancée. He had to deal with the fact that he couldn't love his children in the way he did before he became paralyzed. He couldn't move any of his body, except for his right eye. Everyone around him considered him as a vegetable. His paralysis meant that everything from his past was gone. He was forced to be alienated from the world and to live in a hospital, but he still had strength and turned his difficulties into blessings. Though he couldn't be able to write with his own hands or speak with his voice, he discovered an alternative way to communicate by blinking his eye. He had his caregivers repeat the alphabet to him, and he would blink upon the correct letters. He was used to writing at a faster pace demanded from his career, but after his life changed, he faced his new reality, which was that writing just one sentence would take him a day. I admire him because he chose to maintain his patience and go through the difficult process of writing by letter, just to communicate with the world. He knew that his life was a blessing to him and others, so he devoted his life to write his autobiography. He related his paralysis to a diving bell that had locked him away from the outside world. Like me, he felt imprisoned within his disability. He felt like a butterfly stuck in his cocoon, but he still could escape his difficulties by visiting places and people within his own imaginations. He stated this within the following quote: "My cocoon becomes less oppressive, and my mind takes flight like a butterfly. There is so much to do. You can wander off in space or in time. Set out for Tierra del Fuego, or for King Midas's court. You can visit the woman you love, slide down beside her and stroke her still sleeping face. You can build castles in Spain, steal the golden fleece, discover Atlantis, realize your childhood dreams and adult ambitions." I often think about Mr. Bobby and try to follow his path. I would imagine and sink my feet into warm sand within the African deserts, swim with majestic fishes under the Hawaiian waters, accompany with Neil Armstrong on the moon, or solo paraglide through the Arctic mountains. But then, I would face the truth. I will always have my difficult reality because imagination is only subjective. No matter what I do, my difficult reality will always be inescapable. This truth has been my biggest burden. But the beauty of life, the joys of being within a family, and the mysteries of God justifies my burdens. Experiencing the blessings that God has given me makes my difficulties worthwhile. So I decide to let my difficulties to transform me into a stronger person, and will continue to do so. I gain a new sense of meaning and perspective when I overcome them. My birth was a tragedy for everyone, including the doctors and my family members. Some of them blamed themselves. But even if they made a mistake, God was still in control. This is confirmed by Romans verse 28, chapter 8, which says, "We know that for those who love God all things work together for good, for those who are called according to his purpose." No one, except God, could predicted that I would develop a disability. I will be bewildered over this mystery forever. Whether I like it or not, I was destined to live a difficult life. Even though this sometimes can feel as an unjust punishment, I will still believe that God had put me here for good reasons. I believe that he has a special life for me. I am holding on to the promise in Jeremiah, verse 29, chapter 11. "For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans for welfare and not for evil, to give you a future and a hope." I am starting the journey to discover the special life that God has given me. I begin that journey by sharing my experiences with my disability. Sharing what I go through is therapeutic for me. It helps me become a stronger and wiser person. It also helps me to decide who I want to become in the future. But I am not looking for sympathy. I may have a difficult life. I may feel alienated from the world. But I will assure you that I don't deserve your pity. I still have privileges that most disabled people don't have. I have had privilege to be surrounded by trustworthy people. But many are being abused just because they deem worthless. I have had the privilege to own a high-tech wheelchair and be independent as possible. But many spend their lives by laying on the floor without any education or employment. I have had the privilege to live in a safe country. But many are being killed because their hometown religions declare that their disabilities are spiritual curses. I ask you to pity them instead of me. They deserve to be heard. They need more help than me. I am only fortunate because God decided to give me the privileges which are unknown to many disabled people. For this reason, I am not entitled to anything including your pity. Instead, I aim to inspire you by showing how I deal with my disabled life. I believe that my disabled life can be educational and encouraging. I hope that you will hit the subscribe and like buttons to see my future videos. Thank you, and welcome to my channel.